With the blind robot, the aim is to further understand the engagements, intellectual, emotional and physical, that are generated when an artificial being, a social robot, touches a person intimately. In essence, the blind robot is a piece of minimalistic mechanical engineering. The rationale is to start from a familiar cultural artifact, the robot and transform it from a high-precision tool into a fragile, imprecise and emotionally loaded agent. The blind robot creates a specific context for the participant. Touching the face is a very intrusive and intimate action, and the blind robot walks the thin line between being a cold stranger and an empathic agent. The blind robot comprises of typical robotic arms equipped with articulated hands. The aesthetics were intentionally mechanistic, as was the range of touch and movements, yet performed with a necessary amount of care and sensibility to maintain affinity in the contact. In this installation, visitors are invited to sit in the front of the machine and engage in non-verbal dialogue with it. The robot delicately explores the body, mostly the face and upper body, of the visitor in a manner that recalls that of a blind person seeking to recognize another person or object. The hypothesis set out to verify in this artwork is that the social role of the robot, simulating that of a blind person, will augment the merely physical act of touching via the potential of a created emotional connection between the human visitor and the robot. So far, robotic touch has been mainly limited to non-vulnerable body parts and non-invasive gestures such as handshakes or hugs. Presenting a competent machine that targets such a minute and precise human activity helps to reinforce notions of embodiment. The blind robot is a direct reference to the works of Merleau-Ponty and his example of a blind man's cane becoming an extension of the body. But the cane does more than sense the world. It also reveals that blind man is blind. It is this very aspect that the blind robot seeks to exploit, to create an empathic situation and a positive predisposition for engagement. It is not concerned with the aspect of use, technicality of touch itself, but rather with the consequences for bodily objectivity and the subject's awareness of those consequences. In Cho 8, graphing transforms the body into a receptor. The sensory information is always potentially available to a body that is still inert and not plastic or metal. In our case, the receptors are both subject and object. The visitors become focused on this alternate non-human touch while witnessing the blind robot's graphing heuristics unfolding on his/her body. The subject becomes the heightened site of reception. Being touched by the blind robot is, therefore, more than just the instrumental action of graphing. It is the whole situation of a shared habitus, technical intentionality and social inscription. Blind robot is a direct allusion to Kempelen's Turkish chess player. The setup is similar, with a mechanical upper torso representing the human body. The chess player engaged in a sophisticated mental activity while the blind robot engages in an intricate physical activity. Both situations call for a high level of competence from the agent that in turn raises skepticism about true nature of the situation. In this way, the blind robot not only investigates the impact of the empathic character of the agent, but it investigates the perception of its borrowed competence. When visitors were proposed two scenarios, the robot as a blind agent and the robot as a measurement tool, psychological tests and surveys made with participants revealed that the blind character's intentionality was very clear to grasp, and consequently, people became less afraid of being touched by the character than by the instrument. This preference system was inspired by the Turing test. When Turing developed his early scenarios, he invented a gender imitation game where different roles are attributed to each gender. However, for later tests, Turing eliminated any reference to the human body. Voice or handwriting for the interrogation is actually replaced by a typewriter. This type-written language is then considered free of connotations that the embodied human actually induces. The correct answer to the test reunits the enacted and the represented body. Our mistake demonstrates that the enactment and the representation is no longer an inevitable certainty but a contingent production of identity. In this experiment, the blind robot becomes an embodied typewriter, a manifestation of the suggested character. What it intends to show is that in the process, Turing actually decoupled an anthropomorphic machine and its behavior. Here the embodiment is mainly social and does not really connect to the physicality of the robot. The problem might not lie in the affective or instrumental touch but more in the elucidation of the intention behind the touch. The dance of the robot hands in space onto our body is a singular experience, neither human nor mechanical. These hands are the residual body of the artificial agent touching the visitor, engaging the visitor with the sensuality of this new experience. The blind robot manages to create the impression of a positive intention in the vulnerable and intimate touch of a person's face.